Women, as you know, Anita, we are so multifaceted. And one thing about it is I've lived long enough to know that we can be utterly successful in one area of our lives, and in another, we're falling apart. And sometimes, because we are the strong women that we are, we just sweep things under the rug. We'll deal with the falling apart later or not. And we just try to keep going and going and going until we can't.
Today's guest is Dr. Rhonda Simmons. Dr. Rhonda offers a unique blend of expertise that include over 30 years in senior ministry and 15 years in education as a teacher and school principal. She is the founder, CEO of a non-profit organization, the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated, in brackets TSEFI. Its vision is to provide a home for unwed teen mums by offering safe housing and opportunities for personal growth and development. As a master certified student success coach for TSEFI, Dear Future Me, the coaching program, Dr. Simmons empowers at-risk students through coaching sessions that are designed to improve their college, career, and military readiness. Welcome, Dr. Rhonda.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you again. Anita, I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely well. Thank you very much. Well, after reading that, I have so many questions. But let's start with, what's one of the most courageous things that you have done?
I tell you, it's hard to narrow the list because so many things come to mind. But the most recent courageous thing that I did was I left my job last month as a school principal for two reasons. One, because being a school principal is not conducive to good health. It's a very stressful job, and as I tell my husband, dead people don't work. So I that was one reason, and the other reason is that I knew that the job did not align with my purpose. It was a courageous move for me because I'm a person who likes to have plans and backup plans to the plans. And this was a move where there was no backup plan, but I knew I had to do it. And it was it was quite a feat all the way up to the moment that I clicked send to send my notice of resignation. But it was something that had to be done, and no regrets.
Wow, that is courageous. Absolutely. Especially if you're a person, like you said, backup plan on top of backup plan to make sure you got all areas covered. So it's
Yes,
the unknown now.
yes, absolutely.
So, what took you on your journey of starting your non-profit organization, the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated?
Well, actually, I started the foundation right in the middle of the pandemic. Um, but it was a result of a vision that God gave me 21 years ago, right before I moved to Texas. And that vision was to start a home for unwed teen moms. And it's funny because that vision came as an answer to prayer, because in moving halfway across the country, I didn't know anyone here other than my husband. And I just prayed, what am I supposed to do, when I get here? And I was not prepared for the response that I got, because that's certainly not what I was thinking. But that was the vision that God gave me. And what is really interesting, Anita, is that me being the neurodivergent person that I am, I typed up what I did not realize was really the skeleton of a business plan at that time. And I
Mm.
typed it up and printed it out. And life being life, uh, I completely forgot about the paper. I didn't think about it, didn't, because so much of life was happening. And my husband was in the military, active duty. And so a lot's happening over the years. And it wasn't until I was about to move again in 2021 and I was
Mhm.
cleaning my office and I found the paper that I had typed up 21 years ago.
Wow.
And what was so interesting to me is that I would say 95% of the things that I had written down 21 years ago, I was already doing in my foundation, and so the vision has not left me in all this time.
Mm.
And so I'm just uh, accentuating the positive and building upon, the foundation that God gave me for the foundation. And so that's how we got here, and things have just expanded.
Wow. That's absolutely what I would say a true calling then.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes when you're not sometimes, or actually all the time, probably, when you are the head of a movement or the head of an organization, it requires you to make some hard, fearless decisions. And when 2024 rolled around, I really felt led that it was time uh, to get a new board of directors.
Mhm.
And it's not that the ladies on my board had done anything wrong. They had not. Wonderful ladies. One of them I'd been friends with for over 30 years.
Mhm.
Great ladies. I just knew that God was taking our foundation in a different direction this year. And I didn't feel like I had the right people in place to make that shift with me. Again, the board members I had were wonderful. I have no complaints, nothing to say negative at all. Um, but this is how God works. When I talk to them individually about what I was thinking,
Mhm.
hard conversations, they didn't say a word the entire conversation. And when I got to the end, they were like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you brought this up because I've been trying to figure out a way to tell you how I could step down from this
Oh,
position.
wow.
Yes, yes, and so it just worked out. And then after I made that big decision and fearless and all of that, God blessed me with two new board members, one who was in the UK, the other one who's in Kenya. So now I have an international board. We have launched an initiative in Kenya. And so now, I had no idea at the time, at the beginning of the year, that God was going to make our foundation go global. But here we are, and I'm just amazed by it all. And sometimes you have to take that first fearless step,
Mm.
even though you may not know every step thereafter, it's that first fearless step that is the maker or breaker of your vision. And so you have to be
Absolutely.
prepared to do it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. Well done.
Thank you.
So tell me more about you're a senior minister and 15 years in education as a teacher, as a principal. I know you've just said you've stepped down due to stress, and I can totally understand the stress levels in education. So how did you get into that?
Into education. Um, well, what's funny, my life is just an interesting web of events. But I didn't get into education until I was in my early 40s.
Mhm.
And what's ironic is when I was going through my teacher certification program, I was well into the program, almost finished, before I somehow remembered that becoming an educator was a childhood dream of mine. I
Mhm.
remember distinctly as a child over the summer, I would save all my workbooks and any old textbooks they were getting rid of because I would play teacher at home. I was an only child, and so I had my invisible friends. It's a thing. So
Yes, it is.
and and so I would play teacher, and every summer this is what I'd love to do. And so I was so amazed when that memory came back because I thought, wow, how many people get to actually say they're living their
Mhm.
dream, you know? And so, and you might be thinking, well, if you were living your dream, why did you walk away? It's because God operates in seasons. You have to know when seasons change,
Mm-mm.
and it's kind of like, how in the summer when it's hot, you wear lighter clothing, you just, you dress accordingly. But when the weather changes, you dress accordingly. You don't keep wearing the shorts and the t-shirts and all of that, because it no longer fits the season. And
Mm,
so, being sensitive to when the seasons change is critical for aligning with your purpose. And so, and what's funny is, from my first day of being a teacher, I knew I wanted to become a principal. I had
mm.
no question in my mind, and so I did it, and then I
Yeah.
walked away.
Oh, wow, there seems to be a theme of you just naturally falling into places then, hey?
Yeah, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Or trust in faith.
Yes, yes, that's
Mm,
absolutely.
mm. You've been in
I've been in active senior ministry for over 30 years. That
yeah.
has not stopped or changed. And so I'm still doing that. I've been in ministry a long time. I think at first view, it would appear that my career in education and my career in ministry are two polar opposite things.
Mhm,
Um, I don't know if it's because of my neurodivergence, but there is so much overlap that I've seen until it's just a seamless flow for me. And the reason I say that is because it all boils down to people. As a school administrator, you're pulled in so many different directions at the same time. You have to think from multiple perspectives. If you don't master that art, you will not be a successful school administrator. You have to be able to think from the student's perspective, the parent's perspective, the
mm,
school board's perspective, because some situations may get to that point.
mhm,
You have to think from multiple perspectives and be able to find that common ground. Your life is filled with critical conversations that you have to have, and you have to have thick skin. You really
mhm,
do. You have to be able to look people in the eye, say what needs to be said, but leave their dignity intact. You
mhm.
you have to be able to have those hard conversations and say it with love and respect. And that is so much like ministry, because ministry is all about people. I don't care how good a person preaches, where they went to seminary, or Bible college, or, how much they may call themselves a theologian. If you don't know how to treat people and interact with people, then all of that skill and knowledge and expertise means absolutely nothing. And so,
Absolutely.
um, it's just a skill that has helped me in every aspect of my life, and in being able to communicate effectively.
Can totally understand that, and well done.
Thank
Wow,
you.
that is a lot, and yeah, it is. Like, you do wear many hats, don't you?
I guess I do. I just don't stop to think about it,
Mm.
because if I do, then I might not put them on.
Yeah, just carry on, have them all in their places. That's excellent. You help people with burnout. Explain more about that and how did that come about?
Well, in my coaching practice, you know how you really have to decide who your target audience is. And because you can't serve everybody, it's just not possible. And so you have to really figure out who your target audience is, who your ideal client is, and who you can bring your best self to help.
Mm,
And believe it or not, I realized that I was my ideal client, in the sense that I know what it is to be in executive leadership. I know what it is to have the weight of that responsibility on your shoulders. I know what it is to put everything else before your family, before your own personal health, so that the mission can be done. And I get it, I understand it, but at what price? And
mm,
burnout is a true, real thing, amongst especially amongst women. in there are multiple studies that show high percentages of executive women who are suffering from burnout because they're trying to be all of this in the boardroom, but yet in the family room they're lacking because they just can't be all and do all, and they keep trying. Part of it is because of gender inequities. We have to work harder to get remotely close to what the men
Mhm.
are achieving, and it shouldn't be that way, but this is the reality in which we live. And so I want to help those women who are struggling to do it all, with their marriages, their careers, their callings. But I want to help them find a path to avoid burnout.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. I can really understand that and I can hear your passion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really can. Yeah. Because it is, I mean, I think some people still see it as a taboo subject, but it's a real thing, like you said, and it should be more talked about because
Yes.
it happens all the time and people do see it as being inadequate.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When the truth of the matter is, we are powerhouses.
Mm.
When I was a principal at the beginning of this school year, I watched a lady during the first week of school. I watched her get out of her van, get her one, two, three, I think she had four children. They looked like they were all probably under the age of 7.
Hmm.
And she got them all out of the car. I think 2 might have been a set of toddler twins. She got them into their stroller, got them strapped in. She had the other one holding one of the handles of the stroller. She had another one holding on to her pinky. She had the school supplies under one arm while she used the other hand to push the other side of the stroller. It was an absolute phenomenal sight to see. And she
Mm.
did it like she had been doing this for years. I mean, she had the system down pat. And to me, the reason why that stuck in my brain is that so epitomizes the role of women.
Mm.
We can do it all. I mean, it's yes, we can do it all, but again, at what price? I
Mm.
looked at that poor lady and I thought, when does she sleep? You know?
Bless.
And her kids were on time for school. In fact, they
Mm.
were a little bit early. They looked clean. They looked
Mm.
like they had been well fed and well dressed. She had done all of that. No telling what time she got up,
Mm.
but they were there. And so those are the women that I really want to help, because I may not be able to help how many children you have, but we can
Mhm.
definitely find a path
Mm.
of avoiding burnout.
Mm.
And so that's just my heart and my passion there.
Absolutely, and I can hear that. I can really hear the passion.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, that's beautiful. So, you are the author of multiple best-selling books and most recently was nominated for the #1 international Christian devoted author. Tell me more.
Well, I wrote the book "Dear Future Me: The Journey
Mhm.
Begins."
Mhm.
It's a book written like a devotional. It's a very easy read. You can either read a chapter a day, or you can just read it straight through, whatever works best for you. Um, but the book is broken down into 3 sections. One has to do with dealing with the conflicts within relationships. The second is dealing with the conflicts that arise within yourself. And then the third is dealing with the things that are beyond your control.
Mhm.
And the significance of the book is that each chapter is based upon one word. And we just built it out from there. It's a lot of fun to write. And in fact, I'm hosting a Dear Future Me Leadership Transformation Mastermind next month
Mhm.
based on a portion of the book. And so I'm real excited about that. And it's just great. It's very, very exciting for me. So it's just what I do.
Oh, excellent. Oh,
Thank
that
you.
sounds absolutely wonderful.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and I'll put the links to your books in the show notes. And if anybody wants to go ahead and get that, please do.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
I believe the link that I gave you is for the ebook version of it. I know this is 2024, so it's the ebook version of the
Mm.
book.
And I'm sure if they want hard copy, they can get that as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. So that nicely goes on to my next question. You host a podcast, Empowered Heart to Heart. Tell me more. And who's that for?
Well, my podcast takes a whole holistic approach for empowering women in leadership and in business. And holistic means just that.
Mhm.
We sometimes we may be talking about women's health. Other times we may be talking about empowerment. We may be talking about finances. There's just a variety of things that we talk about because women, as you know, Anita,
Mhm.
we are so multifaceted. And
Mhm.
one thing about it is I've lived long enough to know that we can be utterly successful in one area of our lives and in another we're falling apart, and
Absolutely.
sometimes because we are the strong women that we are, we just, sweep things under the rug. We'll deal with the falling apart later or not.
Mhm.
And we just try to keep going and going and going until we can't.
Mhm.
And so our podcast really focuses on trying to help women uh, just become better versions of themselves.
Mm.
As our tagline says, we offer messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower.
It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, two more that I always forget. Oh, Pandora,
Mhm.
and I can't think of the sixth one, but we're out there. We're all over the place.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
So this is a bit of a tough question after listening to everything that you've done. What is one of the most important lessons you've learned over your life so far?
One of the most important lessons that I've learned is that if you will do the work, you can turn your pain into power. One of the things that I have not told you up to this point about my foundation is that so many people think that the reason I started the foundation is because I was a teen mom. And that's not true at all. I don't have any children. That is not my connection to the work.
Mhm.
My connection to the work is an experience that I had about 25 years ago that led to some deep rooted regret.
Mhm.
During that time, I was extremely sick, just sick all year from
Mhm.
January until December. I was sick,
Mhm.
and the short story is that I had to make a decision to have surgery either at that moment or wait until I was in a life threatening situation
Mhm.
and have to have emergency surgery. Either way, it seemed that the surgery was inevitable. And I went into the situation with the full knowledge that the surgery would leave me unable to have children.
Mhm.
And and at the time, I was still in ministry. I was traveling all over the place and, for the ministry. And, I was at that time what I would consider or what I thought was the height of my ministry.
Mhm.
That wasn't the case now that I'm looking back at it in hindsight, but at the time, that's the way it felt. And I remember thinking and rationalizing, well, I don't want to end up in a foreign country needing emergency surgery and I can't communicate with my medical team because of a language
Mhm.
barrier.
Mhm.
So I did what I thought was the right thing at the time. And Anita, sometimes in life we make those kind of decisions where we do what's logical, um,
Mhm.
not faith-based, but what's
Mhm.
logical.
Mhm.
And what is so significant about this story is that when I woke up that night after the surgery, I was heavily sedated. but I don't think I will ever forget my first thought that I had
Mm-hmm.
until the day I die. And my absolute first thought was, oh my God, what have I done? And the reason why that question is so significant is that I preached faith
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. I believe God, I was like a little cheerleader for Jesus, you know, I believe God and rah, rah, let's just believe God for the
Mm-hmm.
impossible. But when faced with my crisis, I didn't respond in faith. I didn't give
Mm-hmm.
God a chance. I will never know what he would have done. I'm a woman of
Mm-hmm.
faith. I believe
Mm-hmm.
in miraculous healing. I'll never know now what God would have done in that moment because I did what was logical.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, Anita, is that I didn't have anyone in my life who asked me this one question. And I didn't ask myself either and I was fully grown. And that question is, am I prepared to live with the decision that I made? That's a heavy question
Mm-hmm.
because no one prepared me for the psychological consequences of my decision. Living in the moment and trying to, do what you think is right, I get it. But my connection to my foundation is that question. And that's what I want to ask these teen moms, when they come pregnant and, whatever their choice is for dealing with their pregnancy. I just want to ask them that one question. Are you prepared to live with whatever decision you're going to make? Because you're going to have to live with it. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized going through what I went through is that there really are some things in life that cannot be undone. They just
Absolutely.
cannot be undone. And it took me a long time, years, to get over that, just a long time. And so for God to tell me to start a home for unwed teen moms or to become a teacher, where now I'm surrounded by more students than I could ever physically birth
Mm,
in my life, you know, it's huge. And so God has helped me to turn that pain into power and to be able to offer some practical wisdom and practical support for these young ladies and for uh, executives who are going through so many different things and they're suffering in silence. And so, like I like to say, my foundation is my baby. I stay
mhm,
up with it all night. I cry over it. I fight for it. But that's
mm,
yeah, that's I know that was a really
mm,
long answer to your question, but I wanted to make sure that
mm.
I gave you the full picture.
Absolutely heartfelt, absolutely beautiful. And thank you for sharing that with us. Absolutely
Thank you.
beautiful.
Well, I'm just so thankful to share this moment with you,
Mm,
Anita, and with your listeners and viewers. I love the opportunity. I love being able to share with people that there is more to life than where they are and that the possibilities are endless. If they will just have the courage to be fearless, or as I like to say, relentless,
mhm,
they can make it. But what I do know is sometimes you need someone to come alongside and to
mhm.
help you make that fearless step. And that's why we're here. That's why you and I are here. That's why I coach is to be that extra support so people don't have to feel like they're alone.
Absolutely. And I cannot echo that enough.
Yes.
Yes. So, where can the listeners find you online, your podcast, your books? What's your website, Dr. Rhonda?
My website is www.tsefi.org. That's the acronym for the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated, which is way too long. So, and so again, it's www.tsefiorg.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
We were talking about burnout earlier, and sometimes, as women, we can say, well, yes, I know I'm burnout, but, we'll will rest when we get to heaven.
Oh gosh.
Well, if you don't deal with that, you're gonna get there a whole lot sooner. So,
Mhm.
so I have designed a self-assessment called the Burnout to Balance Sequence. It's
Mhm.
on my website. I think I sent you the link to that. But if not, it's right in the menu on my home screen self-assessment where you can take a quick self-assessment. It should take you maybe 2 minutes or less
Mhm.
to determine really where you are on the continuum. Maybe you just need a sisterhood of support, or maybe you're like, okay, I need some small group intervention. Or maybe you're at a level where, you know what, I just need to elevate and escape. I need some one on one attention. We're in crisis
Mhm.
mode. I need to stop everything and really dig deep and do the work. And so, wherever you are, the self assessment will help you really hone in on where you are and give you some insights as to where you can go from here. And so once you submit the self assessment, then you'll get an email with the results and all of that. So there's also a free gift on how to become the best version of yourself.
Oh wow. Absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. And I will put the links in the show notes yet again for that too. That's absolutely fantastic.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, Anita.
My pleasure. So, thank you for sharing your courageous journey and deep, insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. And by doing so, I know you have helped so many others. I really want to acknowledge you for that, Dr. Rhonda Simmons.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, Anita. And I pray that your podcast and everything else that you do will be blessed and will continue to grow.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So, we are all about create the courage to be fearless. What is your definition of courage?
Doing it anyway.
Hmm.
Don't stop to think, can I do it? Because if God gives you a vision to do something, then He'll give you the provision you need to bring it to pass. And so if you stop to think it through too long, well, I don't have this, I don't have the skills, I don't have the education, I don't have the money. Why would God give you a vision to do something great and big if He wasn't going to provide for you to do it? He's not going to waste his
Absolutely.
time or yours. So just do it anyway. And so that's what being courageous means to me.